T domestic, T curtail, then the counterplan, then the disadd, and then the I did not.
Hold on a sec. Sorry, can you do that over again?
Yeah. Chilling effect, immigration federalism, T domestic, T curtail, the counterplan, the disadd, the K.
You said it was counterplan the second?
Yep.
And are you keeping track of time?
Yeah.
He didn't take any.
Okay.
Alright, we good? Status quo immigrants are scared to participate in society because immigration limits them from being able because they're scared to participate because they fear that every day that they'll be deported. They first argument is was also the growth and decline of that's real estate and tech. Real estate is declining. All their internal links are still declining. Still declining. Tech is not be able to solve it. Is not be able to solve it. It's still low now. Not be able to solve growth. And they also survive that argument doesn't apply. We take away the authority for them to be able to deport. Then anything we be able to solve the internal link. They would also survive doesn't apply. The federal policy. The federal policies with the real estate doesn't affect the ability for the real estate to still be able to grow. They're buying houses until that solves the one for the interest rates and to be able to solve for some real estate growth. Then there is a chilling effect. The immigrants are scared to participate in society because they're scared they're going to be deported if they go out of the small business or the healthcare or buy houses. And the immigration inevitable growth doesn't apply to actual immigration in the context of immigration surveillance and and also, they're still scared to participate in society. That means they wouldn't be able to solve their internal links. Small businesses are keep 40% of job growth in the past 50 years, and Obamacare doesn't solve able to solve if anything. They're scared they wouldn't be able to solve for the high risk of the emergency business. And the regulations all cause it doesn't apply to small businesses because they're able to have the growth. The growth not key to the growth is key because they're able to solve for the strong economic order internationally. I'm not going to go for the extinction, or not going to go for these non-immigration funds. Immigration federalism is in high now that they're forced to participate in the ICE 287G. That means that they don't have any balance of power in the concept of the federal government to the state. The global warming does they also need to let extinctors or in regards to the disasters or any other effects that would lead to the hedge impact in this industry where the hedge decline would independently lead to a power vacuum that leads to great power war. The all causes of the visas. We'd be able to solve that if they say it's on sort of personality. We meet the plain says domestic. This question solves the non-legality. We meet immigrants are great legally consider U.S. with regard to sins that they can't show. And all to the court and then also to the health identical board of the person even able to longer recognize this person to counter interpretation, best expense collection of the information within national board tables. And all 14 the domestic friends collection and federal government and with natural with the legal presence that the have to meet the territorial limit. That's goal. 15 because it anything be asked with the territory with the growth of state action 50 you then prefer. 1 is predictable legal code substantial with the territory is for the best of the have and negatives are after on the limit on certain reflecting over the THF after uncertainty the national are going to base the law and functional limits like the substantial resolution literature, check potential pieces not voted, split the limits, their interpretation, justify that figure tail, but the episode runs on you asserts and overseas to reasonable and goals enough that the top down was down arbitrary negative interpretation, good meaning interpretation, on the race of the bottom, this is potential ground and now the secret tail. We meet their interpretation of this required third part of the just violation card, the plain curtail the executive authority, third the executive encountering the curtailment to reduce the extended quality of the single Oxford Dictionary 15, reduce the extended quality of the that includes self-statement 12, 14 legislated that's out of the administrative that self-interpretation curtails is no power for interpretation with yours is ground loss like no law to be external links of policy the manufacturer and war by the state when he seeks specification to include their ground and guarantee they should come with the west of the ground on top of the so with anything they lose they also get executive test at the second predictable limit they exclusivity they don't have any emphasis to surveillance exclusivity third part that could contain that specificity none of their the concept actual surveillance it's just about the water policy and predictable limits outweigh redirected negative ground and generally limits outweigh and periphery to ability cross apply that from the other team now to the counterplan. doesn't solve the enforcement and eventual way allegations back against the capital, and also doesn't solve immigrants and federals. The main subpoint is federal oversight. The second controlling the visa state also getting rid of federal jurisdiction and prerequisites allowing the state to cater the visa policy. The law needs is fuller and Russ working U.S. immigrants supposed to consider for independent foreign workers they from because the American economy is based visas with temporary work visa that they sold a limited work that is sponsor these state policy makers are going to play out the designing and implementing state based so program international borders for a visa points international percent special and to keep preventing credibility internationally the effort that is perceived on the plan process suggesting that having visas policies don't affect the ability for us to be currency internationally. It doesn't solve the balance of power in the state and federal government. This is the main solve these deficit means maintaining risk of the immigration reform the accountable and fail and permutation to both the accountable and links of public guards with one single link by immigration act of 50 state the honest of voters solvency digitalization no limit state that to compare federal action to negotiate state lagging even from the government's rights act rather than war subject to artificial contract no single decision making inside 50 state and federal action local logical reason always of grandparents and portable to go to federal government prosecute the states all their offense accountable and lead you the conditionalities that is a voter they justifies the coverage over the clash and it justifies it incentivizes the labor debate and make it impossible for the affirmative to claim any ground and pre-ground on the assault on the offense now this we saw the impact of real estate, health care, and moments all provide more growth that would be able to solve for. They conceded in the Haas evidence that having growth is able to solve for cyber wars and able to be able to stop cyber defense. And they concede arguments, a true argument that if we win any risk of internal links to growth, that means we solve for the impact of this and all frame the issue, all their impact, all their unique evidence is from September 17th. That means their evidence doesn't seem vague or resigned this morning. That means they wouldn't be able to do that. Means all the unique evidence is wrong in the context of the government shutdown. This card slates this at the Marnie. 925 Monday morning together will only have to politically talk to another high emotion built debates of building the circuit aggregate nuclear deal opponents that think do budget. The main chart is solid the aggregate will be funny aggregate will then get the government shutdown far away from the political battle political would you be in fighting make a shutdown without more likely also doubling the accountable with the comments in the shutdown maybe will put the parent plane over the eggs and budget cuts in there and nuclear alter and the highway trust on the there's simply too much to get done too many pressure points and no link a so point this political fact so already happened by someone to recent ice attention that is to the link and be some point they're all their link evidence in the countries that having actually immigration reform which isn't what the affirmative does only curtails immigration surveillance and being to prove it linked to actual immigration surveillance and the disevidence of prevent logical reason to reject the affable U.S. federal government to do the plan and pass a budget you prefer logical decision because most valuable skill to vacation of avoiding shutdown means nothing better make the house conservative and fail the increase in debt limit kills the economy ending with the March 925 years shutdown is the way more aggressive roaming led government that all the challenge what has ever will increase the power of limited federal government Obama PC is irrelevant that the King 2025 that blaming great names resigning for Congress and indicating the intent to get shut into the conservative members of the party will like this to be committed for such a level while that will be difficult to feed the council lack of never your shutdown so debate about the impacts of the plan is better than the process now decay. Framework interpretation, the applicant has suspended the effects of accident, not having justification for in the aid supplement is limited. The applicant wants to be perverted against evidence employed into critical document. The only way the applicant debate is service stable to the 1C and P subpoint. That's where with the linear collider structure protected the government doing 1C not comparable action, flash and intrinsic couldn't see subpoint. This topic education and reason why we should learn about topics. The reason why it's more important to start with the affirmative is valuable and take incremental positive political change. The permanent within the absence in the direction of to get rid of a policy and action plans against the periphery and P subpoint. Political action indicated it's all the methodological sense. Grossberg 10 needed the actuality without multiple particularly articulation, the articulation, the reason why they're involving in the event, the offender, the changing the absence of concrete actualization of both in relation to all fails without pragmatic reimagining the two people is like the chiefs of power to the conservative instead we should use the master tools to break down the master's house of Christ and tools the 13 the Tea Party adopted a tool orientation symbolic institutional activity particularly all the institutional tools that symbolic power that puts the institutional by nature of the politics that occupies the equally divided fields of the correct immediately full text symbols that the youth master pragmatic to occupy the master institution of the uncertainty and so the potential for transforming these institutions tools and utopian the alternative voted no literature they get something that gets where they find their excuse he made an honors and one man who had their thing feel that they solvency take out focusing on colonial referendum and responsibility something that regardless of their critique into the impact of the framework thing only the permutation consulted bells 96 was colonies the need to internal pit of earth that it is better more got the project decolonization with the group that the acknowledgement districts of focusing into the substructure institutional framing all their link evidence session with security they have no reason why the affixing condition of the word worse than any worse than they are now that bet you will affirmative because we check back the power of the state to be able to study in the direction of the alternative force where people assault and causality their impacts as wrong as the mine 36 exhibits after the bigger the market the undocumented the decline that their lines of reaching we therapy the living in the market they list 36 you return to the percentage of 9 to the condition you don't watching condition find that global life including one day for morality great well there's no reason it won't continue or does continue.
Alright, let's talk about the counterplan.
Yep.
The Fuller Russ evidence you read, where do you think there's a line that says that like U.S. oversight, federal oversight, ensures that like state-based policies will work?
Oh yeah, so the card is about how only a U.S. immigration policy can like prevent any foreign workers. Wait. Okay, current U.S. immigration policy prevents like foreign workers from contributing to the American economy. This is a problem because only starting from the federal approach can be able to solve that. Because if in the world of the counterplan, they wouldn't be able to solve it because still the immigration policy.
Alright,
would
what the
prevent
full and
that.
rush
That
evidence
means
says
only
is
the
that
plan
US
can be
immigration policy currently prevents immigrants, but then it concludes that a state-based visa program would solve, so I'm guessing confused about
That's
what
not what it
solve
says. This is not what it says. It talks about how designing and implementing a state-based visa program would might be able to work in the short term, but inevitably after multiple years would collapse because there's still this
Okay, so
where
where's
the
the
U.S.
short
immigration policy would prevent that. Means
So where's
they
the
can't
short
be able to bring in
So
I mean it might work
in
for
the short term.
It says it might be able to work for a year. And
Okay.
it will only work
So,
on regional issues that
then
means it wouldn't
why-
be able to resolve our internal link.
If your internal link is just about developing enough, getting enough clean tech visas to build a couple of wind turbines or something,
That's
then why
not
does that
that's
solve?
not even close to our internal link.
Your Clairvoyance evidence is about the perception of creating clean tech leadership. So
It's about sustaining that leadership. That's the key. Sustaining the leadership. That's why the counterplan fails to actually sustain this leadership. Because
Okay,
only
so if we win that the Clairvoyance evidence doesn't have any of these ridiculous assertions about sustaining leadership.
no, what it is about being able to perceive that, having that perception of having this clean tech. The Claveros evidence is very
Right.
specific in how it defines
That's
that we
why
have to perceive
politics,
that,
King
the
evidence
clean tech
doesn't even
leadership.
say the word Obama. It just says the GOP is
Wait, which evidence?
The
Oh, yeah,
King
yeah,
evidence
this
is
evidence is
Obama
really-
irrelevant. It's got a bunch of reasons why the GOP are going to lose the battle now. Why is this a negative news?
Okay, no. What this card is about is how Boehner resigning from Congress changed the whole political debate. It's not about whether Obama will be able to change the debate. Now it's whether about whoever is going to become the new Speaker of the House for the GOP. The problem is because the Obama won't be able to affect that because it's only inside of the GOP. That means GOP pushing that is key, but Obama political capital doesn't affect anything in terms of the shutdown fights.
So, but I guess I'm confused because this evidence isn't in the context of the negotiations that Obama's already made with Republicans.
Yeah. Okay.
Also, Boehner is resigning at the end of October, which is after the budget.
Yeah, it's irrelevant because he already resigned. That affects how the political discussions
No,
are
he's
going on.
resigning
The card,
at the
no,
end of October.
yeah, I realized that he's already resigned and make the action. That means he doesn't have to stay political into the position.
Okay.
What the card, the
piece of
King evidence
evidence
is
before that, the
visual
Bartash evidence
What?
is about the debt ceiling. How does that affect cybersecurity policies?
Wait, which evidence?
The Bartash evidence right before that.
Yeah, so that's about the shutdowns.
It's about the debt ceiling. How does that affect cybersecurity policies? This argument is that Republicans will still push Obama on the debt ceiling.
That's not what the card's about.
Yes. A more aggressive Republican-led Congress could also challenge the White House over bills
Yeah,
to increase
the-
the borrowing limit of the federal
The thing
government.
that's going to trigger the shutdown is the bill to increase the borrowing limit. The cybersecurity is just part of that.
Okay.
Boehner resigning means House
they're
Conservative
gonna
will
start
increase that. That means the shutdown's
Alright, you get some?
They were hoping the critique of the account plan, the children for the immigration fellows.
What was the first thing you said?
The critique.
So you can see the permutations, test of competition, the account plan solves the entirety of the case. The account plan has a 50 state governments issue state-based features based on their own economic needs and concerns. That solves federal because it gives the states the right to make determinations about giving out visas. That's their wanting to see full and arrest evidence. You should view the account plan through the lens of sufficient versus optimal. Even if the account plan doesn't solve 100% of the case, the risk of the politics benefit outweighs any marginal risk of solvency deficit, and it does solve the other advantage. That's crudity. 13 selection economic data, immigration, and encourage entrepreneurship, increase demand for housing, raise tax revenues, and help reduce the budget deficit. It is key to sustain growth differential in part, not vital to sustain U.S. prosperity, new products, and business policy, French nations, output of the rest of the world, and capital accumulation, and project growth, and technology from years to increase the managed survey existing business should not take it foreign individuals, but it is part of the by version of habit, left and native, like the entrepreneurial inclinations, presence, and education, those with knowledge of years on innovation, such as the law of the American outside, out of the box opportunities, and native born individuals, job seeking, capability, maybe like DNA resources, such as partners, customers, and suppliers, and their country, the board, China, entrepreneurship, drives job creation with the U.S. and there, and it also solves because it solves the problem of undocumented immigrants in the status quo because it gives visas to these undocumented immigrants. And that's the reason that we solve all of their warrants and their so next solvency argument is their full and raw evidence. But this card doesn't say anything. It doesn't say the federal policy is a prerequisite. It just says the U.S. immigration policy is problematic to status quo. That means state immigration policy is sufficient to solve it. There's no impact to the visas being temporary because they have an impact to short term versus long term. If we solve now, that's sufficient to solve immigration federalism and allow a clean tech transition to the status quo. And the states can just renew the visas. That's the reason that it still solves this fight. That their perception argument doesn't make any sense because the scenario isn't about perception on the immigration federalism advantage. It's just about state immigration policy allowing immigrants to produce clean tech and to have a clean tech here with the U.S. That's sufficient. There's no impact to perception. Perm to us links to that benefit. It doesn't link to the politics. It doesn't go through Congress or the federal government at all. The 50 states beyond is good as predictable. The whole topic is built around the question of whether or not the federal government should act in states. County plan is necessary to test that part of the resolution. Geography checks the county plan occurs in the same region. The plan allows sufficient grounds for accurate comparison. It's reciprocal. If you have one level of government, just like the AF, if not, then they use multi-actor fiat to the president of Congress. Corresponding agencies all act in permutations. Check use the scope of fiat is reciprocal since they can commute to capture the whole county plan, and it's predictable because it was in the 1ACF, and that's the reason that you should prefer it specifically. They say that the plan is key to maintain a balance of power, but there's states issuing powers that resolves the balance of power. They said that Fed pressure destroys their offense, but that doesn't make any sense. There's no reason the Fed can pressure states on their own visas and conditionalities. So they neg against one county plan, one you should prefer because the neg flex background is middle world neg ground is reaction to two outweighs the blocking NAF has topic. Bias we need developers trying to test the act of both best in most ways. Second is 2AC economizing. This forces the 2AC to economize and tailor straight turns a key to critical judgment and skill development. Third is coaching pre-round creates a large team bias based on researchability. That scales from all schools and education. And last is argument innovation. Pre-round discourages innovative markets because Deutsche wants to hedge all their bets on new untested argument that kills ground and research. The case debate versus the chilling advantages there. Extend the officer bias argument. The legal solutions won't be effective because minority populations already have negative perceptions of the police that respond to antagonisms that perpetuate all of their impacts. Police officers will also have individual biases that re-trigger all of their impacts. As the Simmons evidence, his answer was that we need to take away authority. That's not our argument. Our argument is that immigrants have a locked-in perception of these agents themselves. The agents will continue to be racist, most but they can't change the mindset of these agents. That's the reason they don't solve, even if they take away the authority there. I'll extend the Haas evidence here. There's no econ impact. There are Haas evidence in case that there's multiple law clauses that the Haas evidence in case that there's multiple law clauses in the form of the debt and the infrastructure and education systems are all a foundation of domestic power that they don't solve for. And small businesses are key to the economy. 60% of income comes from corporations with over 500 people. Small business income has also been declining for the past decade, which disproves their internal like their evidence has political hype. That's the Bernstein evidence. Also, there's a gut check collapse of the entire United States real estate market, or the bursting of the U.S. tech bubble is insufficient to cause their impacts. It's absurd to claim that Latino-owned small businesses in the United States are the catalyst for the global economy. Number of all causes to small business fail with goals. 11, 10 reasons small businesses fail. There's not enough demand. Owners cannot get out of the way. Ruined by overexpansion, poor kind of lack of cash cushion, operational mediocrity, operational inefficiency, dysfunctional management, lack of succession plan, the declining market, and they don't access the real estate internal like their Amadeo evidence flows that they can't solve the economy there. Evidence cites Fed policy as an all causes. The Federal Reserve doesn't intervene by reducing interest rate. Collapse is inevitable. Their Haas evidence also indicates the Silicon Valley technological development, the shale gas boom, as well as U.S. universities ensure U.S. maintains its lead in innovation and leadership in the status quo. Also, the framing issue for how you view the econ debate is that they've isolated 3 internal links that say that are collapsing the economy right now. If we win, that they don't solve a single one of them. That's the reason that economic collapse is inevitable in the status quo. You can also extend the CIS evidence and indicates that immigration is inevitable in the status quo. That it says that in the status quo, 2.6% unemployment growth is occurring right now for undocumented immigrants. That solves their advantage. Also, you can accept the 1ACCA evidence that in case Obamacare solves their health care internal, like in case that their card says that we need affordable care. That's what the Obamacare policy does. And their 1AC grants evidence is pretty terrible. It doesn't cite any macroeconomic data. That means you shouldn't give them their real estate internal, like their extend the Clancy evidence that indicates that there's a regulation solve cause that they can't solve for small businesses because these regulatory burdens have the effect of $70 billion on these small businesses. That means small business collapses inevitable. You can extend the Julius evidence that indicates that empirically economic growth isn't the same as military growth. The Soviet Union proves this argument. Last is the talent evidence indicates that their reverse causal scenarios in the context of every immigrant being deported. That means they don't actually have an internal link to the economy. The immigration federalism debate, the immigration federalism is high right now. Their evidence paints a narrative of forced migration that doesn't assume state laws also mandating global enforcement. That's far side. You can also cross-apply the one and two Western evidence from the state from the code. And states have sufficient authority now. They voluntarily choose to cede authority. Rodriguez, 14 court left space for local immigrant police, and nothing the state's court's decision precludes Congress from authorizing greater state and local involvement. States also have considerable authority to define the parameters of their own political community. States actively resist federal requests for assistance and the hedge debate, hegemony doesn't solve for a subpoint is the 90s U.S. defense spending substantially. There's no power vacuum, security allows decrease security or balance the impact will be more stable in the global conflict decline. And the B subpoint is flawed because out across statistical evidence shows that no decrease in military spending changes the way countries access the effect-wise. Embassy should prefer our evidence because it invites the neocons and their one is the evidence and their evidence only you should prefer our evidence because it cites an empirical example disproving the idea of hegemony causing backlash post-Cold War that disproves the thesis of international instability by regional pull-out and extend the H&S evidence indicates that visa restrictions are an all-costly advantage because it indicates that visa restrictions are destroying immigration in the status quo, that these national security restrictions prevent our collaboration on climate change. That means only the counterclaim can solve by issuing new visas, and adaptation solves their warming scenario. New tech and capability capital allows us to solve the worst of their impacts. Means all their impacts are hyperbolic. That was the singular evidence, and also they don't access spillover, and their impact doesn't happen. Temperature fluctuation doesn't empirically happen fast with no impact. Species can adapt as the NIPCC evidence.
So how does the counterclaim solve for the balance of power between the states and the U.S. if you kind of just asserted that there would be like
Sure, the
Give
problem
out
with
visas.
status quo is that the federal government has too much power with regards to immigration enforcement, so by giving the states control of the local visa process, as your fuller and
Right,
process.
so how does that resolve immigration enforcement, like mandating that they comply with immigration policies?
Right, so our argument is that in the area of immigration enforcement isn't uniquely key. Your fuller and
I
process
mean,
says that
R1AC has like 6 reasons, but like, what
Right,
criteria
your
that
main
like
internal
immigration
link-
isn't the
we
key thing?
recut their main internal link evidence, and it concludes negative in that it says that just having states have control over state visa policies is sufficient to solve. We don't need to solve for enforcement if we can solve for states giving visas to.
Okay, so you give out visas, you never answer my question. How does that solve for the balance of power between the states and the United States federal government?
Right.
Because they're forced to comply with like minus 287G and status quo.
So there's two arguments. First, our argument is that just giving the visas allows the immigrants to participate in the economy and solve for a clean tech commercialization of the status quo. But even then, we solve for a balance of power because we increase the state's authority over immigration policies, which is better than the status quo because currently the federal government has control over immigration policies.
Okay, so you give out these visas, like, cool, like the states just give out visas for like immigrants
Yes,
or whatever.
states just give
Yeah.
out visas. Like you,
Cool.
you
Yeah,
treat it as like
I
such a
understand.
silly counterpoint.
I
That's
understand
why
what
your
the
evidence
counterpoint does.
is
I
negative.
understand what the counterpoint does. It's cool.
Okay.
All right, so how does that solve for the United States federal government forcing the state to cooperate? How does that able to resolve, like, even if you give out the visas, how is that able to result in more like state power over this to be able to solve for like immigration, like a state-centric immigration like focus?
I don't understand.
Okay, so like our internal link is having the states have power over like immigration, so they can
Right,
be able to like
we let the states
yeah.
like give out more visas. That gives them more power. I don't
How?
understand. How?
Yeah.
Well, they have more control over the immigrants. Right now, the federal government has
Wait,
control.
how does giving out visas give them control over like all immigration policy?
Right, because the problem right now is the undocumented immigrants are scared of interacting with the economy, and
Okay.
so they
You
give
give
out
them
visas,
visas.
so they can participate in the economy. And
Okay, yeah,
they're no
how
longer
does that solve for
undocumented
them
immigrants.
like the states being forced to comply though?
Right, they're forced to. Let's say they are forced. They're forced to comply on the issue of immigration enforcement. Our argument is that just giving the visas themselves, which is what your evidence says to do, is sufficient to solve. Your evidence literally is tagged like state-based visas
Yeah.
solve for immigration federalism.
That's
It's like I can once I don't once.
no, it says like a comprehend or like states-based approach is key to like having
It's
states.
vital to solve the division of high-skilled labor through state-sponsored.
Yeah. Okay, yeah, yeah.
State-sponsored visas.
Yeah,
That's how they-
state-sponsored visas, but the only way to access that is to be able to have a state-based approach over the power.
Right, we say that that's not